Hello and welcome to this week's Jolenes Books and Writers Talk podcast. This week we are going to be talking to one of the members of the First Coast Romance Group, which is a nonprofit writing group that is based in Jacksonville, Florida, but accepts members all over the North Florida, Southern Georgia area. The members can attend both in person at one of the local libraries on a monthly basis or on Zoom, which is a great help to all the members who don't live close enough to travel to the meetings. They are mainly about education and supporting each other as writers. The group has been in business for over 10 years. They used to be part of the chapter of the National Romance Writers Association, but separated out and became their own writing group, still nonprofit, serving this area. The current president is Leah Miles, and she has agreed to talk to us about writers groups, workshops, attending other conferences, and also talk to us about her own writing journey. This particular group supports their workshops through a yearly romance award contest, which is already been held this year, and the winners will be announced this week, probably at the next meeting. And they also do an anthology. They've done one a year for the last 3 years called Romancing the Holidays, and members of the group submit short stories and novellas for publication, and any proceeds goes towards funding the workshops that come on, and they invite teachers and tradesmen and craft people, all about writing and everything you can think of. And I've attended some of them, and they're really good. Without further ado, let's read a little bit of her history. Leah Miles has traveled to various places around the globe, but Georgia is her home. She grew up in Atlanta and planned to have a career as either a television reporter or a successful author. After getting a bachelor's in English and communications, she went to work at CNN for more than a dozen years. Sadly, she never managed to sit at the anchor desk. As for writing, she has a box of stories written years ago and more works in progress than she cares to admit on her hard drive. And without further ado, please welcome to the podcast, Leah Miles. I wanted to talk about First Coast Romance Writers. They are a very active group, writers group in Jacksonville, Florida, even though you're just over the border in Georgia, from what I understand. You and Melanie both are just over the border. Did you come into Jacksonville for meetings and stuff? And what made you become the president?
Well, First Coast Romance Writers, I mean, it gave me purpose that I hadn't had before. I joined in 2016. My last kid, I have 3 kids, when your last kid leaves, you think you're gonna have all this time. I thought I was gonna have hours a day and of course there's no time. But the kids left. And so my mom, who is 82 now, and she always wanted to write. She writes sweet Christian. I write kind of hot contemporary military romantic suspense, but she wanted to do it too. So we drove to a romance writers meeting, and it was the closest one. There was a romance group in Atlanta, but that's 4 hours. Jacksonville for us is 2 hours. For Melody, a former president, I think she's about an hour. So it's a haul, but it's close. In Jacksonville, they have stores, they have Walmart. We don't have that where we live. We live in the country. But we drove down for our first meeting, and they were playing a movie, and I thought, what have we done? But the movie was that one about the writers. It's on Netflix. Have you seen it?
I probably have.
Pages or Between the Covers. It was really, really inspiring. It had some people on there that just I was inspired, and I came home and started writing a book. And I didn't miss a meeting after that. We went to every single one. And by the end, and that was in October, by January, they had me on promotions committee, helping with NERFA, the contest that they were already doing, uh, the NERFA contest, which we do every year, is our fundraiser. Next, National Excellence of Romance Fiction Awards. Took me a second. And so by the end of the second year I was in the group, I was the director of fundraising, because I love it. The community, the people you meet. I'm meeting Jolene, somebody who's a network and computer wizard. I'd like to be wizard. I'm not. I'm probably an acolyte. What's it
Acolyte.
called when you're the acolyte? Yes, I'm an acolyte. I'd like to be. I have a phone and an iPad and a computer. That's as far as I got.
Oh,
But
that's very good.
all the people, it's just been so positive. I've talked to people who were there's writers groups for horror writers, for fiction writers, for every kind of writers. And the people I've talked to, of course, I don't have direct experience, but they say romance writers are the nicest people. And I want to say, yes, we are, because they want to help each other. I've never walked up to another member in our group or in a group that I've been around and said, can you help me with? And they're always ready to help. They're always ready. Oh, well, try this. And just the camaraderie and hey, I'm not trying to outdo you. I want to help you be better at what you're doing. And I just believe in this group. And, I was a fan of RWA till they had all their problems and their kerfuffle, I think they call it. I'm still a member of RWA, and I'm still taking a class right now with them. They have a lot of good resources. There's a lot of good people up there that got caught up in that. And I wouldn't say anything bad about them. Our chapter did stop being a chapter, and we are an independent writing organization, still nonprofit. We're not in it to make money. We're in it to help each other. We are a professional writing organization. And after being director of fundraising for 2 years, I was asked to be the president, and I stepped in and as everyone knows, with volunteers, especially with COVID, when it hit, it's hard to get people to give up their time. Their time is so valuable. Give up I don't want to be in charge. I'll help, but I want to be in charge. So I've ended up being the president for a number of years. I've kind of lost count. I think this is my fourth. It might be my fifth. But next year, I'm going to go back to fundraising because I love the contest. NERFA is so much fun. To me, it is. I like lists. I like spreadsheets, and I think it's a great thing for authors to have a way to get some promotion for their books. If they get a logo or a trophy, it's a good way for promotion. Is that what you were asking me, or did I give you too much information?
Excellent. Very
Yeah.
good.
And the other good thing is, our membership dropped off when we were still with RWA because of the kerfuffle. And as soon as we left RWA, our membership has gone back up. We're almost 40 strong, and that's really amazing for a group of people that come together. We don't all meet every time, but different people come because we do have Zoom. We have people in Tennessee. I've got somebody in Chicago who's wanting to join, and somebody maybe in Ohio. And it's a great group of people, and we're all here to help each other learn more about the craft.
Very good. Very good. I've attended several of the workshops and found them extremely helpful. And that you still offer them on Zoom is a big help for us out of towners. What is your vision for the rest of this year? What do you hope to accomplish
For
before
me or for FCRW?
FCRW, and then for yourself?
Our vision for FCRW is the same as it's always been. We're not in it to make money. We're not in it to promote just our group. We're in it to promote good writing. We're in it to promote individuals and to offer training. We're offering 3 anthologies this year. And with those anthologies, we're able to offer people a chance to see how a book gets uploaded, see how a cover's made, learn how to procure your own editor. I mean, these are all things. When I started, when that first meeting, they talked about the HEA, and I'm like, what's that? Is that secret code? What does that mean? And I couldn't ask anybody who really knew because I didn't want to look like the dummy over there, but that means happily ever after. And that is a key component of all romance novels. And I already knew that's what I like to read, but I didn't know that it was a requirement to be a romance book. You have to have a happily ever after or a happily for now. They can be happy at the end of the book and then be with somebody else in the next book. That's okay. But so my vision for FCRW is the same as it's been. I try to steer the ship in the direction of positivity, I don't want we actually don't have any problem with people in our group. Everybody seems to get along. There's no real competition between each other. We work together. Getting people to volunteer to do any big jobs is tough, but we all have lives and we're all volunteers. And the way I look at it is I have my lane, the treasurer has theirs, the secretary has theirs, and we all are grown-ups and responsible for our own little things, and I don't micromanage anybody. But for FCRW, I see us as going forward doing more of the same thing. We don't have to have 300 members to have a great group of professional writers working together. But I would like to see more agents and editors coming and talking to our group to allow the members to pitch, but when it is offered on Zoom, because the face of society, how do you put that, Jolene? It's changed since COVID. People want to be on Zoom because it's convenient. Yes, you can get dressed from here up and you don't have to do anything else, and you can be on Zoom and you get the same content, but it doesn't feel the same as being in person. But writers, a lot of them are introverts, but it would be nice to be able to offer special things like that. But it is expensive to bring people in, more so now than it's ever before. If we fly a speaker in, we pay for a hotel room and a cab and food, and we've spent $900, $1,000, and our income every year might be $4,000. We don't have the money to do that very often, so when we do, we try to get everybody to come.
Do you envision yourself as a group to do a big book event sometime in the future? I know you do the awards.
Oh, you mean like a conference?
Like a book selling festival for romance writers.
This group, FCRW, when it was under the auspices of Romance Writers of America, they did do an annual convention, and they had book fairs and they had speakers come in. But the planning and the administration of something like that is not something that we have the manpower. We would need those 100 members to be able to do that, because everybody would have to take a little piece. We're going to be at the library in Jacksonville. I think you're going to be there too, aren't you? And I thought there was one. It's in September. Sorry, I had the wrong date. So for the book thing Edit This in Jacksonville in September, many of us will be there. And there is other writing groups that have conventions. A lot of us, about 8 of us, are going to Moonlight and Magnolia in Atlanta, and they do have a book fair that any of us can participate in. But no, and that was a long answer to your question. The answer is not in the near future. It would be a great thing to do eventually. If you want to be in charge of that, Jolene, I will nominate you.
Thank you so much. But instead, you purchase tables for as a group at other festivals, yes?
Correct. We can do that.
Well, that is a perk of a membership.
Right. It is. Absolutely. Speakers, you get, two workshops every month. It's $50 a year. I don't think I mentioned that. That's what it is to join First Coast Romance Writers. And you get to put on your resume, you're a member of First Coast Romance Writers, and you get 2 speakers a month. And 2 workshops a month. And often in years past, we didn't. This year, or COVID years, have a Super Saturday where we do an all-day event. And that is an excellent benefit for membership.
Okay, so that's something you're trying to get back to.
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely.
Over the past 5 or 6 years that you've been a member, you've also published stories in the anthologies yourself. How did that come about?
Well, when I started writing in 2016, I was an English major, so I knew things. No, I thought I knew things. And so once you start working on craft, I think the first time I went to a convention, they said they were having a craft session. I'm like, I don't like to glue things. I'm not going. But that's what, for writing classes, they call it writing craft classes. And I learned every year, I learned more that I didn't know before. So yes, we started out with the first anthology, I guess 3 years ago. Vicki Wolin was instrumental in starting a chapter anthology, and just doing the process of editing and swapping stories. It was just head and shoulders above anything I've learned anywhere else. And I've written half written several books. And the problem with content. If you don't know what you're doing, you don't know how to plan ahead, and you get to about 100 pages and you get bored. You have to plan it. I mean, there's some pantsers out there that do a great job. I thought I was one of those, and I'm not. I don't have to outline everything, but I got to know where I'm going. Even if I write the last scene first, I've got to know where I'm going. But I've almost finished my first novel, and I hope to publish it this year, Father Identified. And if I can toot my own horn for a second, I just finaled in the Maggies, which is the Moonlight and Magnolia convention that the Georgia Romance Writers puts on every year. And I've been probably this will be my 6th year going to Moonlight and Magnolia. And I have entered a couple other books different times, but this first year I've ever finaled. And I feel like this book is so much better than anything I've ever written before, because I've gone to the craft classes. I've taken the education. I took what I learned in school maybe and put it aside, and I learned new things. And that is the whole point, isn't it? We want to learn, we want to grow as human beings and individuals. And in our writing career, I mean, I have a full-time job. I have a full-time life. I have a husband who doesn't really like me sitting at the computer in the evenings. This is kind of my heart, putting words on paper, all these thoughts in your head. I mean, Jolene, you're a writer. Do your characters have conversations sometimes and you can't shut them up until you put it on paper?
Yes, they invade my dreams, trying to
Yes.
direct where I'm going next.
And mine get on like a repeat, a loop. Unless I'd sit down and write that loop, it won't go away. So I have a bunch of little half stories. That's good though. That's your imagination. And if we ever stop or quiet our imaginations, we're just about dead, right? We need to go ahead and enjoy it.
Well, speaking of which, I don't know if you've had a chance to get caught up on the AI controversy and writers. Not only AI and writers, but AI and artists, period, of all kinds. Chat GPT. What do you think about that?
I'm fairly uneducated about that because I've just got too many irons in the fire. But we did have a speaker, Kevin Tomlinson, came, and he said, about the copyright. If you use an AI for any portion of your story, you can't copyright any of your story if they know. He says, how do they know? I don't know how they know. It's a real thing. And he said he used AI for covers. He would just plug in a few words and it would produce a cover. We have a member in our group who does covers professionally. She has a printing company, and she Leah Davis, and we talked about that, and she said there could be a problem with copyright of the images because it's coming from an AI. It's just like the content. So I'm on the fence. I don't know enough to have a strong opinion about it. I mean, I foresee a lot of kids cheating in school, and I wrote all my papers, but I don't know enough about it to say. Kevin Tumlison loved it. He thinks it's the greatest thing ever, and he's a tech wizard like you, Jolene, and because he loved it so much, I've got to go in with an open mind. And he's going to be speaking at Moonlight and Magnolia for anybody who wants to go. And I plan to listen to him again, because the more you hear something, repetition, you hear it, you read it, you write it, you know it. So I'm going to listen to it again. Maybe ask me again next November. What about you?
I've used it to create outlines and help me write blog posts. It is not up to our standards. I don't believe.
Of course, when you and I were in school, Jolene, we always were told you'll never have a calculator in your hand as you walk around, so things change. We'll see.
Yes, the newbies, the kids, when they were coming up, my grandchildren, I kept trying to get them to do the times tables, graph, write it out in order to memorize it. That was the easiest way to do it. She said, Grandma, I don't have to memorize it. I just have to take the test now. And they let us use the calculator. Other than the workshops, what top 5 benefits does somebody have as a member, not only of your organization, but as any writing group that's fairly well kept? What would you consider the benefits to be?
The biggest benefit, in my opinion, Jolene, is community. We go to coffee shops to meet people for community. We go to church to meet people for community. We go Some people go to bars to meet people for community, but for writing, you're looking for like-minded people, people who not, you might write steampunk and I write military romance, but we're still a community. We still have the same goal. We have the same, we're trying to reach the same place on different roads. It's like a topographical map. We're all going our own way, but we're getting to the other side together. So we're learning. And a speaker this Saturday, maybe I'll get more out of it than you, but then the next week, the next month, you might get more out of that one. But so the number one thing to me is community. The number two thing, it would be resources, which is part of community. But LinkedIn, the number one social media, I think it's one of the ones at the top now. I'm not positive about that.
For professionals, yes.
Right. Well, for professional writers, we're getting LinkedIn by having Romance Writers of America. And now, after I joined FCRW, I figured out that all my favorite authors have writers groups on Facebook. I had no idea. So I've joined a lot of writers groups, and there's groups that help you find new books. So that's another thing. So you have your resources in your community, and you also have
people you wouldn't ordinarily meet.
Right. I've made some friends in this group that I would never have met any of them if I hadn't joined First Coast Romance Writers. And I value the friendships and the relationships that I hope will last for many, many years to come. Even if something happened and no one agreed to be president, if I step down, I'll still have that relationship with those people.
Now, let's talk about you as a writer. And you say you published several different short stories in the anthologies, which is cool. And you have a book coming out, which is even cooler. Have you created your book launch plan yet?
I have not, because that's sort of, I feel like I have to at least get the first draft done. But I did create a website, or I had someone create a website for me, and I created a newsletter that I haven't sent out yet because I need some newsy things to put in it. But I've been writing since I was a kid. I've got a box with stuff. When I was 9 years old, I wrote a couple of novels, and then so these are the first things I've ever published, though. And so I'm in 5 anthology stories. 2 are coming out this year. They're in the can, ready to go. And then the book. And I have a second book that I start work on because I'm taking classes. I'm always taking classes. My daughter was into acting in high school and modeling, and that was something they told her, we want you to take 2 classes a week. And I can't afford 2 classes a week, but I can do 1. So I'm taking a class with RWA called Pen to Paper, and it's a 9-month class. And I'm also taking a class with Writers University starting Monday on story magic, and that it's my second time to take it. I highly recommend it.
Any other educational classes out there that you would recommend for somebody first starting out?
Well, the Margie Lawson, we have several people in our group go to Margie Lawson. Anything you can get a class with Shirley, jump on it. She is one of the best teachers I've ever heard. But Writers University is online. It's inexpensive. It's all through Groups.io, so it works with your schedule. That's what I like about it. But that story magic class, Jolene, if you want to take a class, best one I've ever taken. I'm gonna take it every time they offer it, because you can plot out a book, and it's just the whole thing in a 30-day class. It's great. Book conferences, right? Where you go buy books. If you go to a conference like Moonlight and Magnolia, they're going to have 40 workshops. That's what they advertised this year, that you can choose from over a 3-day period. You unfortunately can't see them all, but you can pick 9 o'clock. It's like college. You got your list, and they actually put it on an app on your phone, and you go through the roster, like, I'm going to take this one and this one and this one. And then you worry that you missed something good over there. But it's great. It's really fun. And that is a lot of networking too, because you meet a lot of great people. But go to conventions. I highly recommend that if you're a new author, or you're learning, or you're an experienced author. Get fresh ideas. Get motivated. Get inspired. Go talk to people. Go talk to people who are doing what you're doing, because it's a lonely job. I think I had someone who writes full time said that to me. It's a lonely. They write with other people on the computer, but they don't see other people's faces because they're home, sitting on the computer.
Conferences, on an average, what would you say they cost? Trying to get a feel for the amount of money that you spend to educate yourself.
Well, I'm not an expert, because Moonlight and Magnolia, you find one you like. I've been to that one. I know, I think the average price is $300 $250, $300. I've signed up for online with RWA, and that one was 400, I think. That was pre-COVID. I think I've never been to a national conference because they're always far away. Moonlight Magnolia I could drive to, but $300 or $400. But then you got your hotel and you got your food. But it's a holiday. You're going with people who are like you. You're gonna laugh. You're gonna have fun. It's worth it. It's something for yourself. It is I guess it's selfish because it's for yourself, but sometimes we have to do that.
So writers retreats. I think you guys used to do them.
Right. And right, no pun intended. But yes, we did. We've done them. I've been on a couple. The main reason we're not doing them now is money. With COVID, we missed a year of doing NERFA, and it cost the chapter at least $1,500, $2,000 to do a retreat because we like to treat our membership. And we will eventually go back to that if we can find a way to increase our NERFA entries so that we have more money in the bank. We could do a lot of things, but the bottom line is the dollar, because we don't want to plan a weekend and try to get the member. We don't want it to be a financial hardship for our membership. We want to be able to provide that, and so we're not going to do it till we can.
Social media as a writer, have you gotten into that yet? Do you have a plan?
For me, that's really the last piece of the puzzle, and it's the hardest piece of the puzzle for me because I'm not a wizard like Jolene, and it's difficult for me to toot my own horn, but it's also it's another step. I mean, social media is so important. Like the anthologies, I don't have the numbers to know how many books are published a year, but it's a lot, like 1,000,000, and they're romance books. Like I read somewhere that the majority of the market that people buy is romance books, but that means there's a lot of competition. So if you don't advertise, if you don't put yourself out there, nobody's gonna be able to find you. You're just going to be in obscurity out there. It's vital to have a website. That's what I've been told. Even if it's a business card website, which is one page, if you want to make it in this industry, you've got to have a website. You need to have a newsletter. And you need to have a social media presence, whether just post something occasionally. Again, I don't have a book that's just mine yet, and I'm going to probably be getting a lot more into that.
So you yourself have not found a social media platform that you like the best and would feel comfortable?
Well, I have an Amazon page and a BookBub page, and I'm not comfortable with social media. How's that?
Okay.
It confuses me. Yes.
As the president of FCRW, I've noticed that a couple of your former speakers have become members, which is very cool.
We have a gal who's an editor who's joined, and she's writing for the anthology now. She really enjoyed herself. So we take industry people just as much as writers, because we need them all. And several speakers have joined because they liked our group. We're a good group.
Becoming a nonprofit. I was reading somewhere that's very, very difficult. And I understand that you are an official nonprofit with the federal government, which means you're verified.
It was
how that worked?
Well, RWA is nonprofit, and we were nonprofit under the auspices of RWA. And when we separated, we had to pay a professional. That wasn't something we could do. And it cost us almost a couple of grand, but it was worth it. I mean, we are nonprofit. We're not for profit. We're for education. So it's an educational chapter. We're not a chapter. It's an educational group. And it's, I don't know, we just assumed we would get nonprofit, and we did. So we verified and proved that we were, because we do everything correctly with our minutes. And we could prove it.
Okay. See, we don't always know about. And there's a tax advantage.
We don't pay taxes. Yeah.
Right.
If we had to pay taxes on NERFA, we just have to give up, because we wouldn't make any money. And also on our anthologies, we don't make very much on them. It's not really a few $100s a year. It's not like, because Amazon gets their cut, but it's an education. It's to further the membership. And we have like 4 new people join this year just so they can be in the anthology, which I think is great. And I've got another one who's joining to be in the winter anthology.
Is there anything that you would like to share with somebody coming up in the Jacksonville, North Florida area, besides joining our group and having fun?
If they want to get serious about their future, if they want to really do this as more than a doodling hobby in the doctor's office, if you actually want to put pen to paper and create a story, create a world, create a character, you have to be exposed to some educational tools. And you can get a lot of it online, but there is nothing like sitting in a room with a group of people and tossing around ideas. I just did a scene in my book, Father Identified, where the bad guy is breaking into the apartment where the woman is with her 2-year-old and the hero. And I had to figure out what to do with the 2-year-old because she was in the way while the bad guy's fighting and the good guy is beating the bad guy. And I couldn't figure out. So I called a group of my writer friends, my critique group that I found through First Coast Romance Writers, and we talked it out. And you don't get that from a computer program or from a class. I mean, you're getting individuals who are just tossing ideas around, and it's like planning a party, but you're planning your book, and it's worth your time investment. Time is more valuable than money. $50 a year is, a really nice trip to Cracker Barrel is going to cost you 35. Pay the $50 and take the time out of your day. If you pay 50 and you come to 3 meetings, you got a bargain because you're getting education. If you were to buy these classes, it would probably cost you $40 or $50 per class if you were buying them online. So the Story Magic class I'm taking is $90. Of course, it's a month, but it's not an in-person. It's all you read it online. But yes, the benefit of the community and the resources and the education, but just the people, what you can gain from meeting people who are sort of sailing in the same direction that your boat is going.
But is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
Father Identified, unless a publisher picks it up and tells me to change the title.
Okay.
October, that's my goal. October,
That's your
we'll
goal?
see. Actually, November, October to the editor, November to publish. That's my goal, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm pitching to a Harlequin editor. So yeah, that's the other thing about going to conventions. You get in front of real agents and editors. They assign you times and you have 5 minutes to give them your pitch and they decide if they want more or not. And that it is nerve-wracking, but it's fun. It's fun. It's challenging. And again, there's those people. There's other people in line next to you about to do the same thing. And that makes it better. Everybody's in a money race, but we all have money that we put where we want it. And, and if you want something, you'll fight for it.